Hey, what is going on, everyone? Hopefully you can hear me all right. Hopefully I'm sounding good. But yeah, welcome to Citizen Pete. I've been off for a little bit. I have I do some professional live streaming, and so I've kind of had to shut down the live stream for a little bit as I had a big event this past weekend. But I'm back and better than ever, and ready to talk some politics. If you guys are ready to hear about some politics. But before we get into the politics here, I actually kind of wanted to address something that has been going on with my channel in the last couple of days, and that is one of my videos is absolutely blown up. And I guess so. A couple months ago, I did a video about the University of Texas and their fight song, "The Eyes of Texas." If you haven't heard it, Google it real quick. It's a very popular song. But I did this video about this song. It's one of the first videos I did. I actually think I published it back on June 22nd. And every couple months, it seems like this video just kind of blows up whenever anyone mentions the song. I mean, there was like 1 or 2 views when I first posted it, and it was one of my early videos. I was still kind of figuring the whole thing out. And so, I posted this video, and it's just totally blown up. As the controversy itself comes back up, and I guess in the past week, it has come out that some UT alumni were going to pull their funding if the school decided to not back the song. So that's why people have reached out about it. But it's one of those things where I wanted to respond to this video because I've been getting so many views and so many crazy comments about it, and I wanted to kind of set the record straight a bit about this video by first saying, even though that was months ago, I still agree with what I said. The university should find some way to either edit or get off of or change that song, and the football players shouldn't be forced to sing it. And it's funny that there's a lot of folks who are against cancel culture and saying this song's not racist, and they're attacking with racist attacks like this little gem I got today. Yes, this is a comment that someone left on this video, and there's been a ton of comments just like this. It's funny that people complain about cancel culture and then try to cancel you. And yeah, I get these crazy racist comments from folks who do not want the song to go away and say the song isn't racist, but then go ahead and prove that it is. At least to some people, right? They take things too far. I mean, this is in a way why cancel culture does exist, is that because sometimes people take things too far. But yes, I still agree with my original thought, is that the song "The Eyes of Texas" should no longer be something that the football players are forced to sing. Again, this isn't something that I created or I perpetuating this controversy. The players, they don't want to sing it. There's other alumni groups on campus that don't want to sing it either. They've actually been trying to get rid of this song. The students have at UT for quite a while, right? And I just want to report on it and kind of talk about this controversy that's going on. And it's crazy to me that this is blown up in such a big way. As I sit here now, I think I have almost 9,000 views on this video. It's kind of funny to look back. Look at me. Look, I feel like maybe I've lost weight, gained weight. I don't know. But yes, as I've gotten so many crazy responses from this video, I just want to do a quick little update on it. Tell you guys where I still stand. And maybe, hey, stop writing crazy racist shit if you want to talk about how this song's not racist. Doesn't really fit your argument there. Anyway, I wanted to address that one there before we kind of get into our main thing. Talk about politics, right? So, Congress is actually they're still in session right now, and they've had to change up their plans just a little bit after they've been receiving some security threats ahead of tomorrow's votes. So they're voting on them tonight. According to Politico, top House Democrats are abruptly wrapping up all work on Wednesday and sending members home a day earlier than planned, as congressional leaders grapple with another potential threat to the Capitol nearly 2 months after the deadly riots overtook the complex. Now, Politico, this article goes on to say, while the full extent of the concerns is not clear, Capitol Police have stepped up security around the Capitol and related office buildings after both federal authorities and the Sergeant-at-Arms warned of discussions by militia militia violent extremists to seize control of the complex on around March 4th. Sorry, that's my dog kind of making some noise there. Chill out, buddy. So, why March 4th? This is actually very interesting here. March 4th is a big day for a lot of QAnon supporters and a lot of people who support Trump or, still think Trump is gonna come back in office. Hold on a sec, because this is a whole lot of crazy to talk about. Okay, so March 4th. The reason why they're into March 4th is because that was the original inauguration date for the President of the United States, right? I believe Ulysses S. Grant was the last president to be inaugurated on March 4th. And the reason why we changed this was because between the election in November and March 4th, a lot of bad things can happen, right? And in the past, there were other presidential administrations, incoming presidential administrations, that had problems with the guy currently in office. Or the guy currently in office had problems with the incoming president and would try to undermine their administration before it got started. So eventually, we decided to inaugurate people in January instead of waiting till March. Well, now these QAnon folks think that March 4th is the actual day, and they think that Trump is flying to D.C. right now to be inaugurated on March 4th. That's a little bit of QAnon crazy in a nutshell. But yes, apparently a lot of QAnon and other folks are getting ready to attack the Capitol, I guess to celebrate the inauguration. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security have disseminated a joint intelligence bulletin to state and local law enforcement on Tuesday night, warning of the potential violence at the Capitol on March 4th, tomorrow. According to a document, again, obtained by Politico, the FBI had learned that a militia group was discussing a plan as far as late February, trying to get thousands and thousands of Trump supporters to head to the Capitol to, quote, remove Democratic lawmakers. Yes. So, Republicans are actually calling on Trump to tell people to stand down. But if you think the impeachment and violent insurrection would change Trump's mind around the whole election and kind of perpetuating these kind of crazy conspiracy theories, well, you just don't know the Don.
This issue is being studied and examined, but the reality is you cannot have a situation where ballots are indiscriminately pouring in from all over the country. Tens of millions of ballots. Where are they coming from? They're coming all over the place. Where illegal aliens and dead people are voting, and many other horrible things are happening that are too voluminous to even mention.
Yeah, he is definitely not changing his tune, not one bit. So unfortunately, it looks like the folks at the Capitol, are here to stay, and the barbed wire and the fences are probably going to be here for a while, because who knows when, we can go back to normal and put all this craziness kind of stuff behind us. But yes, again, the Capitol is facing threats and potentially could go onto some sort of a lockdown tomorrow. We'll see. For my money, I think that there is not going to be a whole lot going on. But that's what I kind of thought last time, so who knows? And apparently the Trump Hotel has been selling rooms at way more their usual rate for the 4th through the 6th. So I'll keep an eye on with the Capitol, see if there's anything actually going on. But yeah, stay tuned because we could be going back to some crazy real soon. Hey, what is going on, everyone? Thanks so much for stopping by, checking out Citizen Pete Live. I really appreciate it. Do me a favor, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, and I will be right back. So it would seem that the honeymoon phase is officially over for President Biden. And progressives are pissed he has been in office for 6 7 weeks now, depending on when you're watching this video. And we have not seen stimulus checks. Those stimulus checks are $1,400 instead of $2,000, and the minimum wage has not been increased. They're also pissed that Biden hasn't eliminated the filibuster and has bombed Syria. And now they're freaking out. You know, they're like, hey, if Biden's been president, why isn't all this shit getting done? And unfortunately, it seems like they maybe just don't get how all this shit works in the first place, right? I mean, there's a lot of smart progressives out there. I like watching Kyle Kalinske, but I like a lot of the progressive agenda. But the fact of the matter is that unfortunately, this stuff takes a long time, you know. And it seems that a lot of folks on the progressive side are just kind of upset that this is taking so long. And I think it kind of goes back to a lot of progressives in general seem to maybe not understand how the legislative process works. Bernie Sanders, who I'm a big fan of, would always say that, people would always ask him, like, how are you actually going to get any of this done? How are you actually going to get any of your agenda passed? He'd always say, 1 million people will descend upon D.C. And the problem is that unless they're from your district or your state, who cares how many people there, right? And so progressives are asking Biden to lean on folks like Manchin and Kristen Sinema from Arizona, and they're trying to lean on them to vote for this COVID relief package and the $15 minimum wage. But unfortunately, they can't just force them to do that, right? A lot of progressives talk about, Biden's so popular now, why don't you just force them to vote how they want to? Well, unfortunately, that's not how that works. I mean, Republicans are able to pull that off because they have so much of a firmer grip on their party. Democrats just don't, unfortunately. The party's a bit all over the place. And, I do get progressives are upset that, Republicans would have already passed all this stuff already. Definitely true, And Mitch McConnell is horrible, absolutely. But there's rarely any dissension among Democrats. And it used to be dissension among Republicans, excuse me. And it used to be that way for Democrats, but it just hasn't been that way so far in the Biden administration. Only seven Republicans joined the Democrats on impeachment, right? And so there is potential to find some bipartisanship on some things. But in general, this stuff kind of takes time, right? And for Biden to get his agenda through, he has to appeal to Republican voters. He has to appeal to Republican senators. Because the other thing with progressives is, they want to get rid of the filibuster, which if they don't have the votes to get rid of, they barely have like any kind of a majority in the Senate itself. And there is a lot of, they're going to lose 2 senators for, the minimum wage. There's not as much support for it on there, raising the minimum wage. But he's even going to lose less support for getting rid of the filibuster, right? So they can't actually do that. Sucks, but that's just kind of how it is. The only way for Biden to really get his agenda through is to appeal to Republican voters in Midwest America, right? I mean, that sucks, but that's how our government's set up. Conservatives have a lot more legislative power than they really should. I mean, the state of South Dakota has the same power in the Senate as the state of California. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And Democrats won the White House, Senate, and House, but still lost the 2020 election because they just don't have enough votes to do whatever they want to do. So really, this was bound to happen at some point. And, it was only a matter of time before progressives started to, freak out. And now, according to some reports, they are threatening to blow up the entire COVID bill over $15 minimum wage. Kill the whole thing. Because, again, this is taking way too long, right? And so now we enter the new stage of the Biden administration. Can he keep the party together, or will infighting do the Democrats in 2022 and eventually lead to the return of Trump in 2024? Again, this is definitely something I thought was going to happen. It's a little sad to see that it actually is happening, that Democrats seem to be kind of falling apart within themselves. It just seems like the progressive wing of the party is getting a little fed up that all these things are taking time. And hey, I'm not a patient guy either, so I get it. But their lack of patience could potentially cause some big problems for Democrats going forward into the future. Now, the next story I want to kind of get to is another story on the Democrat side, and it concerns the governor of New York. Now, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says he is going to keep being the governor of New York, despite calls for him to resign over, you guessed it, a sex scandal.
I now understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable. It was unintentional, and I truly and deeply apologize for it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with New York politicians and sex scandals. It seems to be a common thing a lot of with any kind of representative from New York.
Anthony Weiner in more trouble for him. Child Services is now investigating the former congressman after his latest round of sexting, which included a photo showing his young son in the background.
And no, I'm not forgetting about you too, Eliot Spitzer.
I cannot allow my private failings to disrupt the people's work.
With that, Eliot Spitzer resigned as the governor of New York. Those private failings he mentioned are, of course, the sex scandal that became very public on Monday.
Yep, don't know what it is about New York politicians, but there seems to be a problem with them keeping it in their pants. Now, the current governor is facing a bit of a sexual scandal of his own, but his excuse is he didn't actually have sex with anyone. He just tried to.
But this is what I want you to know, and I want you to know this from me directly. I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never touched anyone inappropriately.
Well, I don't know, Governor, but I think the woman in this picture would slightly disagree with that statement. Looks a little inappropriate to me. I don't know, almost kind of looks like he's trying to like grab her face or something. I don't know, like he's gonna eat her face. Yeah, that's not a good look, man. That's a little strange there. Now, Cuomo has been accused of essentially asking women who have worked for him if they have ever had sex with an older man. Totally normal question in the workplace, right? And so the obvious question here is, should Cuomo resign? Now, if it was just this scandal, I'd say no. I'll get back to you on that in a sec. And I don't mean to say just this scandal. Like, this is a pretty shitty thing for the governor to do. And yeah, he did some shitty stuff at work, which is definitely not right. But he hasn't actually been accused of breaking any laws yet. Now, this video is coming out, like, check the date. You know, he could definitely be accused of stuff in the future that is not publicly available on March at 10/29, March 3rd, right? So who knows what he'll be accused of in the future. But so far, he's not been accused of breaking any laws yet, right? And if he is accused of breaking the law, then yeah, he should definitely resign. Or if more of these allegations come out in the future and they get worse, then for sure he should resign. You know, yes, he obviously tried to have sex with women under him, but so far, there's no sign that he did anything retaliatory, right? One of the women told Cuomo's chief of staff and then got another job in his administration, far away from the governor, but it doesn't look like she was forced out, at least so far. Again, it is 10/26 on March 3rd. Who knows what's going to come out in the future, but from what we know right now, it doesn't look like he retaliated against any of these women here, right? And so there's an investigation into what is going on, and if something illegal did happen, he should absolutely be gone. But for now, let's not cancel the governor over this. But what we should cancel the governor over is the nursing home scandal. That is what he actually should be resigning over. He made a mistake, a big mistake. And I think a lot of people could actually understand this mistake that he made, in that folks who were positive with COVID-19, they went to the hospital, then they got out, then they had nowhere to go if they lived in a nursing home. And so he made the misguided decision to force nursing homes to allow the sick patients to come back in. Seems really, really stupid, but again, New York was the first state in the United States to really fight the coronavirus, so I'd give him the benefit of the doubt if he just had some bad information there, just made a mistake. The thing that should make him resign and make sure he loses his job is that the state and his administration have been accused of suppressing the numbers of dead folks, that people who died based on this decision, right? That is, that's what he should be resigning over. The cover-up, right? He should be resigning over this decision that people died over, and that he tried to cover up the numbers, right? He tried to stop you and I from finding out about this. And for my money, right? I mean, obviously the sexual harassment allegations are pretty damning, but it's a question of like, do you still have the public trust? That's whether or not you should. That's at the point where you should resign, right? And based on the scandal, the sex scandal, it doesn't seem like he's going to lose a whole lot of people's trust over that. I mean, a lot of this seems like, okay, maybe Andrew Cuomo is just a little creepier than people thought he was, right? But actually covering up the number of people who died at nursing homes, now that's something that is going to ruin the public trust. And that is absolutely what Cuomo should be resigning over. So again, I don't think you should resign over the sex scandal, but Governor Cuomo, if you're watching, it is time to resign over these nursing home deaths. Hey, thanks so much for watching Citizen Pete Live. I very much appreciate it. Hey, instead of just watching the show, why don't you come beyond the show? We try to include guests from the left and the right and talk some politics and discuss what's going on. Whether you're a hardcore conservative who thinks Trump is the second coming, or you're a liberal and think Trump should be in jail, I want to talk to you. Do me a favor, leave me a comment, subscribe, like this channel, and let me know if you want to be on the show, or send me an email to citizenpete101@gmail.com. Alright, so if you're living in Texas, it might be time to get rid of those masks. On Tuesday, the governor of the Lone Star State decided the pandemic was over and is lifting the statewide mask mandate and opening businesses to 100%. So, if you didn't think Texas was already one of the worst run states in the country after we lost power during a snowstorm, well, here you go. And if you think that was a stupid move, well, then you and Biden are on the same page.
Texas, I think it's a big mistake. Look, I hope everybody's realized by now, these masks make a difference. We are on the cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way in which we're able to get vaccines in people's arms. We've been able to move that all the way up to the end of May to have enough for every American, to get every adult American to get a shot. And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask.
Neanderthal thinking. That's almost as much of a shot as shut up, man. That's a pretty heavy hit for Biden there. Now, I do think we need to find an off-ramp for this pandemic, right? I mean, we've been dealing with this for a year, and we finally have the vaccine. I got my second shot already. Very happy to say so. And so there is definitely a conversation to be had about when should this pandemic end? How should we, get out of some of these lockdowns, some of these mask ordinances? Like, we should definitely be talking about that. And I've talked to liberals, I've talked to conservatives here in the great state of Texas, and none of them think the pandemic will just somehow magically end on next Wednesday, March 10th, which is when all this stuff is supposed to go into effect. Now, here in Texas, we have passed out more vaccines than any other state in the country, which is awesome. But the problem is we're also one of the biggest states in the country. And so far, we've only gotten I think it's about 7% of people in Texas have gotten their first shot of the COVID vaccine. And so we are a long way from any sort of, herd immunity. And so as, when this goes into effect, the new case numbers will go up and Governor Abbott's poll numbers will go down. But my question is, in a realistic sense, is this actually going to change anything? The government has the power to say, okay, you have to wear a mask, or you don't have to wear a mask. But what they don't have the power to do is say you have to serve someone at your business even if they're not wearing a mask. And so far, it seems like most business owners in the state of Texas are still going to require masks, right? So even if you say, hey, I don't want to wear one, well, find somewhere else to go. And so, by and large, it seems that, Texans are going to enforce this policy whether or not, Biden or the state, enforces it at all. Honestly, what this order really does is it makes life harder on business owners. Because now that enforcement is going to fall onto business owners instead of staying with the state. I mean, it's much easier for, a sales clerk or someone, working on retail or working in a restaurant, whatever, say, hey, you have to wear a mask because that's what the state says. It's a little bit harder when it's like, this is what I am saying. So really, this is just putting more burden on business owners with their customers. And so it's really not helping them out very much. And it really doesn't matter what the governor says, If you think this is going to help businesses in Texas, think again, to end the pandemic. And again, we should be talking about how do we end the pandemic. The key is to get the numbers down and keep them down, right? And then we need to rebuild consumer confidence that it is safe to go out and safe to spend money. And the biggest voice for doing that, the biggest, voice that people would normally listen to is the government. People in general trust the government. Now, I know not a lot of people think that's ridiculous to trust the government. I hear you out there. I see your comments. But in general, just general folks, people who probably aren't watching political content on YouTube, they think, hey, if the government says this, then we're good to go. But, if the government seems to be putting politics over health, people won't trust them anymore. Just look at what's happened with this. Look at what's happened with the CDC and them being accused of changing things for political reasons. I mean, it's kind of hard to come back from losing that kind of trust. And so again, I think we need to figure out the pandemic, how to end the pandemic. But I don't think it's just going to end on a random Wednesday in March. Probably not the best idea. Hey everybody, hope you are enjoying Citizen Pete Live. Very much appreciate you guys tuning in and watching the show. If you haven't already, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel and also sign up for notifications. Very important to do that so you get the latest content sent directly to your phone. You can also keep up with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CitizenPete101. But again, very much appreciate you guys supporting this show and supporting independent journalism. I'll be right back with more politics, news, and entertainment. So after a few weeks of being banned from Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and even Spotify, no rap albums coming from the Donald, I was expecting Trump to come back with a vengeance. I was expecting him to come on stage at CPAC and just let her rip. But I was wrong. Very wrong. 90 minutes worth of wrong.
Institution, they don't want to let you have it. There should be a 100% requirement to verify the citizenship of every person who votes.
Yes, that was just a tiny little taste of Trump's 90 minutes of boring, rambling on shit, Honestly, the big thing, big takeaway from the whole CPAC thing is that people are really so into Trump that they have made a golden statue of him and are going around kissing it, taking pictures with it. Yes, very biblical. Now, if you're not familiar with the story of the golden calf, look that one up. But yeah, it did not work out so very well for them. And I thought Trump was the Christian candidate. So I was kind of surprised to see people bowing down to a literal gold statue of him. But whatever. Anyway, Trump did make some newsworthy statements. So at CPAC, so I guess let's get this over with.
We're not starting new parties. They kept saying, he's going to start a brand new party. We have the Republican Party. It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before. I am not starting a new party.
Not starting a new party, which is funny. I thought Trump loved partying, especially during the pandemic. See, the thing is, a lot of conservatives, a lot of liberals think Trump is incredibly stupid And he's maybe not the smartest guy, but yeah, he knew that, him starting his own party would have just split the Republican support and make sure they don't win. And by and large, if the impeachment stuff, and really the whole thing was he was just trying to threaten people on impeachment, right? He was telling Republicans, if you impeach me, and he knew that Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, want to convict him during the impeachment and then ban him from running from politics in the future, well, then I'll start my own party. And then I will basically destroy your support. And probably wouldn't have gotten, all Republicans to go with him, but if even like 10% or 20% do, that would really hurt Republicans' electoral chances going forward, right? So, again, it was just a threat to the Republican Party. There was no real chance of him forming his own party because, that takes a lot of work, and the Don doesn't seem like a guy who loves work.
This election was rigged, and the Supreme Court and other courts didn't want to do anything about it. We need election integrity and election reform immediately. Republicans should be the party of honest elections that can give everyone confidence in the future of our country. Without honest elections, who has confidence? Who has confidence?
Yep, it shouldn't surprise anyone that even after a violent insurrection that he encouraged over and over again and was impeached over, that Trump is still on about his election fraud bullshit. I guess that's just what Florida retirees do. Just golf, and then talk about the good old days. Trump is not president anymore. He's just another crazy Florida man saying, more crazy Florida things. And now, on to the last important piece of Trump's 90-minute rambling rant.
We will take back the House. We will win the Senate. And then a Republican president will make a triumphant return to the White House. And I wonder who that will be.
Ooh, I wonder too. I wonder who that will be. Now, it is an open question for me, actually, if Trump will run in 2024, because there's a lot of, it's 4 years from now, there's a lot of legal troubles that could open up for him between now and then. And apparently, I believe he's getting served with a lawsuit today. So, yeah, who knows? A lot can happen between now and November 2024. And we'll see if Trumpism really survives for another 4 years. Obviously his support is still strong now, but he literally just got kicked out of office. The important thing for Trump is that he did almost win in 2020, even though Biden won the national popular vote by like 7 million votes. Really, if you actually look at the electoral map there, he really only lost by 90,000 votes. So he was pretty close actually to getting a second term. And you could definitely see what could have happened if the coronavirus didn't exist, And so, for me, it is an open question on whether or not he will be president again, but whether or not it's him at some point, there will be a Republican president back in office. That's how the pendulum of politics swings. Personally, I don't think it will be him. In 2020, people showed up to vote against Donald Trump, not really for Joe Biden. He was not my first choice, my second choice, or really my third choice. But yeah, a lot of people were voting against Trump, not for Joe Biden. And so if you're a Democrat, you might actually want Trump to run in 2024. But again, there is a long way between now and then, and a lot of potential legal problems for the Don. So we'll see. The next time we could see him, he could be wearing a different colored outfit, if you know what I'm saying. Hey, if you're watching the show here and you like what you see, do me a favor and follow me on Facebook at CitizenPete101. You can also follow me on Twitter at CitizenPete101 again, and on Instagram at, you guessed it, CitizenPete101. I'll be right back with some more news, politics, and entertainment. Alright, so the biggest complaint most people have to do with politics is that politicians don't do shit. They talk about a lot of shit, but they don't actually do a whole lot of shit. Just take the minimum wage. Now, according to Pew Research, more than 67% of people actually support raising the minimum wage. So then why doesn't it happen? I mean, if almost 70% of people support raising the minimum wage, I mean, that's a huge chunk of Americans. Why is it still so low? Why hasn't that happened in more than a decade? Well, the problem is that both parties can't agree on anything. And in some way, that's our fault. It's your fault. It's my fault. It's for a lot of people out there who follow politics. It is our fault. But first, let me explain. So Democrats, they don't have the power to just raise it on their own with only 50 votes. If they had 60 votes, they would have, raised that shit weeks ago. But they don't have the votes to abolish the filibuster. And they won't be able, or they could override the parliamentarian there. The Democrats, progressives are pushing the Democrats to do that because all Kamala Harris has to do is say, hey, I don't care what you say, and boom, okay, we can just, skip right past that parliamentarian stuff. But even if they do that, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema from Arizona have both said, they are not going to vote yes on the COVID-19 bill if the $15 minimum wage is still in there. So even if they do override the parliamentarian, as soon as the parliamentarian said no, Sinema and Manchin both said no too, which would make sure that the legislation would not pass, right? It's the only way for them to actually do it is being able to convince Republicans to jump on board. Problem is that the Democrats have demonized so many Republicans who have agreed with Trump for the past 4 years that it kind of makes them hard to work with, right? I remember at one point, Democrats were even floating a blacklist. Anyone who has worked with Trump over the last 4 years, we're going to put you on this blacklist and make sure you never work in D.C. again. Kind of hard to find common ground with those folks. Of course, it goes both ways too. Republicans have called Democrats every dirty name in the book and have called them un-American or socialist. And, it's so bad, Republicans and Democrats can't even hug anymore.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you.
The Supreme Court nomination hearing wrapped up today with the senior senator from California, Dianne Feinstein, saying kind words to the chairman.
This has been one of the best set of hearings that I've participated in, and I want to thank you for your fairness.
Afterward, the longtime Democrat went on to embrace her Republican counterpart, Lindsey Graham, with a hug. No masks. The social media reaction was swift and angry. Some used the hashtag Feinstein betrayal. The group called Demand Justice started a petition demanding Feinstein step down from her place as top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee.
Yep, can't even hug. She's a traitor because she hugged Lindsey Graham. Now, I wouldn't want to hug Lindsey Graham, but hey, that shouldn't get you canceled from the party. Now, both political parties listen to their supporters. And on both sides, they have some very loud supporters, maybe some on Twitter, some on Parler, whatever. But they're listening to the loudest supporters on each side of their party that are going to attack them for meeting with other sides or with other members of the other party, right? They'll attack them for anything if they agree on anything. And, I get attacked for being a liberal commie and also a crazy conservative. So I guess I'm in the right spot there. But yes, unfortunately, we are all stuck in our tribes and nothing gets done. It's hard to reach across the aisle when you've convinced everyone on your side that everyone on that side is pure evil. And so if we want politicians to actually get things done, maybe we should put down our pitchforks, right? If Democrats want to figure out how to get $15 minimum wage done, they need to spend more time focusing on Main Street and not pay attention to Wall Street as much, even though, if there's some GameStop fun stuff going on, let me know. They need to learn how to compromise and come up with ideas, not just be anti-Trump, right? They need to convince rural America that this needs to happen, right? I mean, unfortunately, Democrats, they kind of focus their agenda and focus their what their support is on urban areas, right? They play to issues that really make sense to, folks in big cities. And by and large, it's worked. It's in a lot of big cities and a lot of big elections, they've been able to get a ton of support. And that's really shown up for him in Congress. But unfortunately, the way the rules of the Senate are set up, and it's 2 votes per state, they need to figure out how to get some more conservatives on board with their ideals, right? Instead of demonizing conservatives constantly, they have to find ways to find, common ground with these people in rural America. And until we can figure out a way to do that, it's going to be hard for our government to really function and work well from here. And I totally get the idea of getting rid of the filibuster. I myself have gone back and forth on whether or not they should get rid of the filibuster. If you're unaware what the filibuster is, it basically allows the minority party in Congress to hold up a bill and make sure it doesn't get passed, even though they technically don't have the votes to really block it, right? And so the filibuster has been used by both parties when they're in the minority for years and years and years now. There's some talk that it was originally put in place to stop civil rights legislation. Not sure if that's accurate or not. But the thing is, both parties, they could get rid of the filibuster, and it would make sense to get our government working on things faster, so I think it could be a good idea. But at the flip side of that, the pendulum swings in American politics. Eventually there will be a Republican Congress again, there will be a Republican president, and so be careful what you ask for, because the shoe could very easily be on the other foot. Hey, what is going on, everyone? Thanks so much for stopping by, checking out Citizen Pete live. I really, really appreciate it. Do me a favor, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, and I will be right back. Alright, everyone, that is the show for today. Thank you so much for watching Citizen Pete, and it feels good to be back. It's been gone for a while. But yeah, definitely excited to just kind of jump back into, making more political content and talking politics. And hey, just having fun with it. So, hey, leave me a comment if you can. Subscribe to the channel. Maybe leave me a like and a comment. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side.